So, are we ready? Are we being recorded? Ready? All right, so welcome to the Lander County Commission meeting, Town Board of Battle Mountain and Austin Board of County Highway Commissioners. Oh, okay, she told me we were ready, I'm sorry.
Unmuted.
You want me to read all over again, which is fine. All right.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, sorry. So, welcome to the Lander County Commission meeting, Town Board of Battle Mountain and Austin Board of County Highway Commission, March 11th, 2021. Go ahead and get started. Call the meeting to order. Brian, you want to lead us in the pledge of allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to have a moment of silence. All right, moving forward, Lander County Commissioners may break for lunch from 12 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. Any agenda item may be taken out of order, may be combined for consideration by the public body, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Commissioners' reports on meeting, conferences, and seminars attended. Patsy?
Thank you, Kathy. Actually, I've been really involved with NACO off and on because of our annual meetings virtually. So I've had meetings on the 26th, and then we had them again on, I attended some on the 3rd and some on the 8th. It seems like altogether I'm a little over 9 hours, so I don't think I want to sit and report all 9 hours to you, but as it goes on, a lot was on COVID, a lot of speakers, and as we go through things, we'll bring that up and keep you informed. I did attend the chamber meeting for Austin, which was on the 1st, and although a lot of things have been canceled, they are looking forward to working perhaps with the Lions to do something on the 4th of July, and they would like to continue to do the wine walk in September, and of course the tree lighting, which will be the day after Thanksgiving. So those are the main things that are on their schedule right now. I did have an Austin Airport board meeting on the 8th, and I see that our airport folks are here from JUB, so I'll let David bring us up to date on that. That's all.
Thank you. Art?
No, I had no meetings.
All right, very good. I did the meetings with the congressional folks this week, and meeting with Amadei yesterday, he informed they had just passed the $3.8 billion package for the state of Nevada. Lander County will be receiving $1.07 million. It'll be those. Whoever is, yourself, please. Thank you. All right, going forward, the counties will be paid directly. It won't be a pass-through through the state, which is nice. We have 30 days to, from the time the bill is signed, to do the paperwork to get the funding. The usage for it are government services, and that's a very broad term, and they said, we'll let your district attorney define that for you. They said it's very broad. And then they said you could also use it to plug losses due to COVID within the county, financial things within the county, we could use it for that as well.
Do you know if we can use this for bonuses?
Well, with the government services, I don't know, it's because they said it was such a broad term, and Amadei said that too. He said very, very broad, and so.
Yeah, because I heard that Humboldt General Hospital gave out two $5,000 bonuses to their clinic and hospital workers. I think that's appropriate for us to do if we can get this money to our employees.
So yeah, he said that to ask your district attorney, so we'll let him tell us, what that means, because that's and he said very, very broad. So they also Amadei wasn't sure, but he thought it had to be spent by December of 2024. I mean, so it gives us some time, but he wasn't 100% sure, but he was fairly certain. There was no government compliance add-ons or pass-throughs, which is nice. And so that's why they decided, the federal government said they were giving it straight to us. bigger areas have to do pass-throughs, but the counties do not. So, one of the other things that was brought up, countless times was inmate, Medicaid, saying that they shouldn't be taken off Medicaid when they're arrested, why the counties have to flip that bill. As soon as they're arrested, they're still Medicaid status. So that was brought up and said that they were going to be working on trying to figure that out, because they just said the county shouldn't have to absorb those rates, because they're still considered Medicaid. The 2477 roads were brought up again, which I'm not 100% sure on all of that stuff, so bear with me. But they said 2 to 3 years to get the permitting at this current time. And I'm not, like I said, I'm writing down, not knowing what they're talking about, so bear with me. I'm not gonna lie like I know. But one thing that they did say is with the sage grouse, if they decide that the sage grouse is encroaching on a road, then that road is gone. It's no longer. So that's something that whomever is dealing with the sage grouse issue needs to really pay attention, because they said and Amadei just said that they were trying to get assistance for solutions and compliance with that, but at this time they said that was going to be one of the issues, was the sage grouse. One of the other issues that was brought up several times, which I don't think that we have an issue around here, are the wild horses. The controlling of the wild horses. I don't know in Lander, maybe down in Austin they might have more of an issue, but
We've got
JJ Gilgachia, pounded that in numerous times about the assistance with the wild horses. The land bills, this is kind of interesting. They said that in the southern part of the state, they didn't think that they were going to have some problems getting their lands bill pushed through. On here, and this part is something that Ted, you probably have to look at too, because I don't understand what all that they're talking about. They said the majority of them they thought we're gonna go ahead and go through, but they were having an issue in Washoe County because of the tribes where the land bills are. They're putting the tribes, pitting them against each other, and so they're having some issues. So they're gonna be reintroducing that bill in the next 30 days. But he did say one of the problems is the congressman that was from New Mexico who was against this is now the Secretary of Interior. So that, just for everybody to be aware of that issue. But they thought that, and then they were talking about the 30/30 protection of public lands, of land. And they said Nevada would be one of the highest impact one because we have such vast lands. And so it's 30/30 across the nation, but since all the highly populated areas don't have any land, they're gonna wanna come and take our land and utilize that for the 30/30. So that's something to really, they said you really need to pay attention to that, because if the law goes through, then they're gonna come to the unpopulated states and start picking off those lands.
What's the 30/30?
It's like 30% conservation of the lands, to where you can't do anything with it. It just sits there, almost inhabitable, to protect it from anybody.
No footprint.
Yeah, no footprint. And so that was the first time I'd ever heard that, so I was trying to listen to the conversation to see if I understood. But the one thing Amadei did say is Nevada, they will be coming after, like Nevada, Montana, the vast,
Arizona.
yeah, those kinds. So people in those states really need to pay attention to that. And so I think that is it.
No report.
Okay,
No report.
all right, very good. All right. So, staff reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
Good morning. So, as what I have here for us is very little, but one thing that I do have concerns with is NACO. So that as what I've been catching up to speed on is how NACO works and what their operations are and how they speak for our county, and is how I gather they speak for our county, especially right now with all the bills that are in and what they do and what they don't support, as Patsy's well aware, is that NACO has their own committee that votes on these bills to move forward or to hold back. And it comes from the vote of the individual commissioners from each county that is appointed to the NACO board. One of my concerns is I think these votes are happening on a lot of these bills without it coming back before the board to make sure that it's this board's, as a whole, your decision on which way we vote, so it'd be, more or less giving direction to the appointee Patsy on how we would like to vote as a county, as opposed to, Patsy voting on her own. So that's something that I have a little bit of a concern with, because I think that it's a representation of our county.
One commissioner can't represent the board at any level.
Well, so,
Let me-
so
let me-
Patsy will have to clear this up for us, but my understanding is that, you know, for an example, one of the bills that kind of got us digging into this, me and Kathy, and a lot of this information is coming from, are on calls on Friday with NACO, and they have everybody there. Well, during that call, they had said that they were throwing that bill in the garbage, that they weren't supporting it. Then later I was to find out from Ted, you know, that, hey, they're supporting that bill, and I said, I don't believe they are. And he said, no, they are supporting that bill. So when we got back in touch with NACO and started communicating on this, they said, well, we have support from your county. I said, well, I'm confused at where you get support from our county, because you guys were putting that in. That's where this whole committee came to light, and all that started coming to the forefront. So maybe Ms. Waits can clear that up for us on how that vote is, and the representation it supplies for the county, because I know that that's how NACO moves forward in supporting or not supporting bills. And that's my understanding from Dagny, unless I have some sort of misunderstanding there.
Who supported what? You said that, who's from Lander County supported what bill, what issue?
So,
Let me address that, because when the bills come up before our board and your NACO representative, if there's something that we have not supported, if we have not talked about it, or if I mean something that's, you know, I have no idea, I don't vote, and neither do the other commissioners, until we take it back to our board. But there hasn't been any that I'm aware of that have been, you know, contentious at all in any way. With what we're doing has always been for the good of the counties. But if there's any problem, we don't vote. I mean, the representative does not vote, because I can't vote without knowing what my commission is going to do, and the others feel the same way.
Okay, I need to know who was the commissioner or the commissioners.
Excuse me, it's our understanding from Dagny that that's what they do. In fact, Humboldt County, at their commission meeting, just had to instruct Mr. French, Commissioner French, that he cannot no longer present Humboldt County's position on his own. He has to come in front of the full board.
That's what we were informed.
Absolutely. That's what
And
it should be.
because that's not what has been happening, according to
Okay.
Dagny. So you want specifics, but apparently this is going on, and we found this out in discussion of the civil attorney bill,
County council.
county council bill.
Yeah.
But it's not by itself. It's not a unique situation. It's apparently been happening time and time again.
Okay, let's
That
just talk
NACO
about
is taking a,
a stand for the county without a vote.
right,
So
I think
this
they
is,
do the majority. I
So-
think what they're doing, is that what
so
they're
what
they're
it's-
doing the majority of their
yeah,
vote.
so what I'm gonna recommend is if the commission, so we don't get into discussion on this, because it's not an agenda item, that maybe we make this an agenda item, and then we can
Yes.
open discussion for this
Okay.
later, because we're starting to track down the road of
All right,
discussion.
very good.
So, and then the other thing I'd like to let everybody in the county aware of is that the single shot Johnson & Johnson is out. We're gonna send out a mass email to anybody in the county that is still wishing to get the single COVID shot. I think that they're coming out, and the hospital is reaching out to see, you know, how many people have interested in that. We currently have 2 active cases, and for the last month, we have not exceeded 3. So it's, you know, and for the majority of the time, we've been at 1. So that's where we stand on that. I am going to ask that we table, the health board and the commission on the, resolutions that we're putting forward for more or less what this is up-leveling our, best practices for the health and well-being of our citizens. We didn't quite have everything cleaned up enough, and then we have some communication that we gotta work through with the hospital and make sure that, you know, we may not always end up on the same page, but at least we're in communication before we sit down in front of you guys.
Okay.
So, with that, that's all that I have to report.
22.
What's that?
22 was taken.
Oh, and item number 22, if you would please table as well. We did not get the proper language in on that one, so we gotta switch that one up as well. So that's all I have for my report today.
So then, which are we, on these
so we're
On the resolutions, I believe it's.
3 through,
3 through what?
12,
Okay,
is that right, Bert?
okay.
Yep. 3 through 12, and then also item number 22, and then we'll all be back on the next agenda.
Alright, so for public comment, for non-agendized items only, persons are invited to submit in writing and/or attend and make comments on any non-agendized item at the board meeting, if any, and discussion of those comments are at the discretion of the board. At all public comment may be limited to 3 minutes. Hello?
Muted.
Thank you. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person, again, at the discretion of the board. Reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comment based upon time, place, and manner, but public comment based upon viewpoint may not be restricted. Do we have any public comment? All right, please, step forward.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Doug, yeah, press that.
Chris, out?
Yep.
There we go.
My name is Doug Staten. I'm the clerk of the Lander County School Board of Trustees. However, I come before you this morning in my capacity as a private citizen and taxpayer of Lander County and a constituent of this commission. I'm addressing my comments to the resolution that was passed unanimously by the commission at your meeting on the 25th of February. First, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Waits for her comments during the discussion of that resolution. I appreciate what you had to say. The last item on that resolution was urging the school districts in your jurisdiction, which for the record, there is one, the Lander County School District, to return our children to in-person instruction as soon as possible without restrictions and without masks. On the 16th of February, 9 days before your meeting, all of the students in Lander County who wish to avail themselves of that opportunity return to full-time, in-person instruction at our schools. I believe, and what I've been told, is that that item was placed on that resolution because of constituents coming to various county commissioners expressing their concerns with what was going on in the schools within the school district. I, as a county school board trustee, have not been contacted by any constituent regarding a concern, either by phone, by email, or in person. If a constituent were to come to me expressing their concern with something that was under the purview of the county commission, for example, the road conditions on the
Unmuted.
305 south of Antelope Valley, which for the record are atrocious, because I drive that road on a regular basis. It would not be up to the school board to issue a resolution urging the county commission to review the condition of the roads within Lander County. It would be up to me to have them contact a county commissioner. If any of you are contacted about an issue that's under the purview of the school board, my telephone number is area code 804-514-4472. I will speak to any constituent at any time, in any place, about any matter that is under the purview of the Lander County School Board. I thank you for your time.
No, I've got a question. Are
Okay?
you saying that people can't ask me questions about the school board?
I am not. I am saying that if you're asked a question about the school board, I would appreciate it if you would direct them to me so that I can address that issue with them as a member of the school board.
I thought Mr. Klein said that you had to contact him first, and that was in the letter.
That was in the letter, but I made it clear to Mr. Klein that I am ready to speak to any person at any time, in any place, about any matter. If you'd like my business card, I'd be happy to give it to you so you have my telephone number.
How many years have you been in Lander County?
14?
14, whole 14?
Yes, sir.
You know my background with Lander County School District?
I'm familiar with it, yes, sir.
Extensive.
Yes, it is. But I am an elected member of the Lander County School Board of Trustees. It is my responsibility to serve every constituent that I have with any matter that concerns anything in the schools in Lander County. And I'm expressing my willingness to do so. I'm also expressing my willingness that if someone comes to me with an item that would concern the county commission, to refer them to a county commissioner, which is, I believe, is what my job will be.
Thank you for coming.
I got something to say
Thank you
too.
for your time.
Yeah, I have
Wait,
a,
yeah, yeah,
I have a
no,
comment,
yeah,
Doug, if you
go
don't
ahead.
mind. Is that I believe that as constituents, they might not have personally reached out to you, but I know that several have been to the board meetings and wanted an agenda item to address their elected officials, which both times has basically been denied to be an action item put on the agenda to have intelligent discussion, to have your taxpayers to be heard on their issues. I mean, if you're really willing to listen to your constituency base, why would you not put it on an active agenda and actually have intelligent discussion about it? Because that's what you're in the elected seat that you're in for. We do not discriminate against anybody in this commission. If they want something heard, we put it on the agenda and we hear them. And we have intelligent discussion.
And I appreciate that. And this is a discussion that you and I have had personally.
Right.
We are not in the position at this point, and I probably should not, this is probably not appropriate for public comment, but I'm going to say it anyway. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, if this is not appropriate for public comment. Once we, and I'm speaking as a citizen and taxpayer, and as one member of the 7-member board of the Lander County School District Board of Trustees. I do not represent the board right now. I can't. You've had that discussion already this morning. One member cannot represent the board. My position is, once we, as a school district, are allowed to take local control of this issue, we will, we've already got the machinations in place for a committee to study this issue and an action item to be approved for the agenda so that these things can be brought before the board. The issue right now before the board is not an issue of medical science. It's not an issue of feelings. It's not an issue of opinions. The issue is we, as we serve at the discretion of the governor and the State Board of Education, which is where we're tied to as the school district, we are not in a position to defy that mandate. Once we are given local control over the mask mandate in the schools, we will absolutely have an agenda item so that people can come before the board and address that. We're not in that position yet.
Thanks, Doug.
So, all right. Oh, mic's on. So I attended a few of your meetings, okay, to find out what was going on, and one of the ones I went to was where your children came forward asking you to let them go back to school, okay? I've contacted your superintendent, and he does not like what I have to say or what I want to put on the board, and basically sent me back a letter wanting to know, and as a citizen, not as a commissioner, as a citizen of, I don't know, 48 years in this county, and wanted to know why I was in their meeting and what I had to do, and basically was threatened as a county commissioner to turn me in for ethics if I tried to approach. So, I'm telling you that the rogueness of that is why these kind of things end up happening, because when they try to speak, they're not allowed to. And I've tried to speak more than once, on more than one occasion, and it's shut down. And basically put on, so to speak, a hit list of what do I want? And what do I have to do with the school district? Well, I'm telling you now, you may not have known that, but that is exactly what had happened. And I still have the correspondence. He wanted to know why I was at his meeting. It's not his meeting. It's the district's meeting. It's our children's meeting. And so my suggestion to you is to make sure that there's no rogueness going on and you know what everybody is doing. Because that's how we get right here, is because you have one or two people who are hearing. And after your meeting, I actually had some of your board come up and say, what are you doing at our meeting? What am I doing at this meeting? I'm a taxpayer, that's what I'm doing at your meeting. And I can be there. And it wasn't as a commissioner, it was as a citizen, a tax-paying citizen. So with saying all of that, I can respect what you're saying as far as who you report to, but you better figure out who's reporting to you on your upper level and what communication is truly going out.
And I'd like to see that communication if you do.
Not a problem.
I have more public
Your
comment.
name's Doug?
Doug,
Okay, Doug, I've got a question. Have you had ethics training and open meeting law training?
yes, I have.
Okay, and you don't see any improprieties?
Not at this point, no, I don't.
Okay. Is it proper for the school district to compete against another business?
In what capacity?
Oh,
Give me,
you know-
give me some specificity here.
You know
'cause I have
what,
no-
Doug? You
I
know
don't
what?
know what you're talking about.
Well, and that's the problem. That's the problem, and that's why people are not going to the school board, because they're not being informed, just like Kathy said. You are not getting the information that you need to make good decisions, and I'm telling you that as a citizen and as a commissioner and as somebody with extensive background in Lander County School District. You need to wake up.
I have more public comment. As I attended the last school board meeting as a taxpayer, I was concerned. Just to give everybody kind of an idea how it happened, was you went through a door, the door to get into the school was locked, you had to check in through a window, and you were asked, because the tax people, citizens were asked, are you here to speak on the mask issue? First off, that'd be like us putting somebody outside that door, what issue are you here to speak on? It doesn't matter, it's improper, thank you, Art. And then another thing is what's, I find peculiar is that you have an administrator of the school that's with the superintendent saying, let them through, oh, no, don't let him through, let him through, don't let him through.
Yeah.
Well, if that's not censorship at its finest, it's like, wow. It's just, I put myself in that shoes as a commission that we have somebody on our staff out there. Oh, no, don't let him in, he's gonna cause trouble, or let them through. That's my comment.
And I'll address that. The reason that was done is because we wanted to hear anyone who was speaking on the mask issue first. We wanted to streamline the process as much as possible. It was not a censorship issue. It was not we want to know exactly why you are here. It's because we wanted to hear from all of the mask people at the same point in the meeting.
Well, Doug, I wasn't at the meeting, but it's my understanding when Joey Gilbert gave his presentation, there was no chance for one person to ask Joey a question. Bang! He was off per client, your guy.
That's not correct.
I'll further state that the superintendent actually, while Mr. Gilbert was speaking, types up on the computer screen or the blackboard, the Zoom screen, are you going to be summarizing soon? It was rude. As a taxpayer, I felt that was rude. You have somebody presenting testimony, you let them talk.
How many people got to question Joey Gilbert from the audience?
No.
The Joey Gilbert session was an informational session.
Uh-huh.
We were there to listen to Mr. Gilbert. It was not a time that was appropriate to be taking questions from the audience.
It was
not-
very appropriate.
Let me finish, please.
Sure, go ahead.
It was not an agenda item. It was an informational item.
And why wasn't it an agenda item again? Request for.
I've addressed that
Yeah.
already.
I think you understand where your problem lies, and hopefully you can correct it.
Does anyone else have any further questions for me this morning? I think we've gone a little far afield.
I have
of public comment.
a comment. In your comments, you said you serve at the discretion of the state. That's not quite true.
Right, and I probably didn't word that properly. I
Of
was
the
serving
voters
the
of
discretion of
Lander
the voters. But we report and we're under, and I don't wanna say the control,
The purse strings, the purse strings.
well, and it's not even so, it's not
Yeah,
just the purse string.
That's exactly what it is.
No, sir, it's not, respectfully. It is not just the purse strings of the state. The state has the ability, if we defy this mandate, the state has the ability to replace our school board and replace our superintendent and run our school district out of Carson City. That can be done.
You certainly don't serve at their discretion.
No, we serve at the discretion of the voters.
And I wanted to correct that for the record.
And I'm up for
Because that's what you said.
And I apologize, I said that I probably did not word that correctly. And I'm up for reelection in 2022. And if the voters want me back in, they'll put me back in. If they don't, I'll go home. I've lost elections before.
I have one last thing. Going back to those students that came in that day, which was absolutely heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking.
I don't disagree with you.
And them begging to have some kind of normalcy in their schools again. So I cruised through the CDC and their recommendations of things, and where they say that it's, you know, you've got where it's pretty much solid that kids are not transmitting things. You've got and I see the kids, I have some friends that have kids in school, they come out of school and then masks are filthy dirty, they're switching masks, they're nasty. What does that, how is that helping anyone? Except making it harder on the kids to breathe, the ones who are asthmatic, or even the ones who don't have any health issues. I just think that it's an easy fix that we're gonna do instead of working with the Department of Education and working with the CDC where it says, and it is a recommendation. If they're sick, make them go home, but bring some normalcy back to them. And don't sit there, Mr. Stapleton, and tell us that is a statement, I'm sorry, say T-O-N, okay, sir, Mr. Staten, sir, okay, I'll give you that, sorry, I apologize, that people haven't contacted your board. May I have not contacted you, but I have contacted several other people of your board.
If you'd like my number, you can
No,
contact
thank
me
you, I'm
anytime.
done with that, truly, because one out of, you said 7, I've spoken to several of them and haven't gotten anywhere. And then tried to work with your superintendent, who still tells you nothing, have no idea. And the issue with your white gym, you cannot sit there and tell me you didn't know about that, because it came in front of you and it was squashed.
And if that's what you were.
You're talking about the
referring
white gym, absolutely
Okay.
talking to white gym.
Okay,
That's exactly what was coming up. And when I was there, one of the reasons I was there to talk to that is about why you would, for one, go into competition, and why when you have budget cuts as big as you have coming down the road, which we know you do, just like everyone else, that you would even consider, or he would even consider such a thing, and then ask the competing business, well, you can run it for us. He even came to the meeting and asked that.
do you have any idea right now what we're doing with the white gym?
I don't wanna know at this point, because I'm so frustrated at that. I don't wanna know, because until
Because
everybody can get on.
I can tell you, and for the record, I will. It's being used by the wrestling team. We're moving the wrestling team practice facility from the high school to the white gym, so that they have more space and more equipment to practice to win another state championship for this school district.
Well, good, I'm glad that it's being used for that and not a gym
And
for
it's
them.
not being used as a fitness center for anyone, it's being used by the wrestling team.
That wasn't the original concept.
No, it wasn't, but that's what the concept is now.
I have no more public comment. Thank you, Doug.
If anyone would like my business card, I'd be
Yeah,
happy
yeah,
to.
I do, Doug.
I'd like to make an appointment to speak with you at some point. Okay.
I got it, Doug. Thank you, sir.
So we don't have any public comment on anything? No. Okay, we're gonna go into consent agenda items. All right, All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissions with one action without extensive discussion. Any member of the board or any citizen may be, request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during this meeting. Consent agenda material are available at the Lander County Clerk's Office for viewing, and copies are available for a nominal charge. So, number one, approval of March 11th, 2021 agenda notice. Number two, approval of May 7th, 2020 special budget workshop meeting minutes. Number three, approval of September 10th, 2020 meeting minutes. Number four, approval of January 28th, 2021 meeting minutes. Number five, approval of February 11th, 2021 meeting minutes. Number six, approval of February 25th, 2021 meeting minutes. Number seven, approval of payroll change requests. So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of March, or the agenda of March 11th, 2021, the approval of the September 10th, 2020 meeting minutes, and approval of payroll change request.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, Brian made the motion, Art second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Very good. For discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove the payment of bills. With that being said, we're gonna pull out check number 211019. So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the rest of the bills.
Second.
Brian made the motion, Art second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 I make a motion, we approve check number 211019.
Second.
All right, Patsy made the motion, Art second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I abstain, it's made to my employer.
All right. Number two, for discussion of possible action to set a date for the Lander County Board Commission meeting to be held in Austin. Any ideas?
Well, let's wait till the weather's nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Patsy gets to come up here in bad weather, but we're gonna wait till it's good to go there.
That sounds fair. I'm good with that. We usually have it middle of the summer, so we're probably looking at July.
Okay.
If you want to look at your schedules, we have a commission meeting on the 8th and a commission meeting on the 22nd.
So the 8th, does that work? Would that work with everyone?
I'll be there.
Everyone?
That's fine.
All right, so we have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we hold the Austin meeting of the Board of Lander County Commissioners on July 8th.
Second.
All right. Patsy made the motion, Art seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, scooting forward up to, number 13. Are we right? Scott? All right. All right. For all the other items that we're going to hit and table. All right. All right. For discussion of possible action to modify the existing golf course lease agreement between Lander County and Overturn Sports Bar and Grill. All right.
Hopefully you guys have had a chance to read through the contract. We got the green light, so we are moving forward. I have Ms. Sonderman here if she'd like to speak to it.
Okay. You looked at this?
Yes, I wrote the provisions up. The terms were given to me. I wrote it up. I went through it a number of times.
Everything's good.
And it expresses the terms. So when you look at it, if you're satisfied with the terms, legality is correct.
Okay.
We have the 30-day out clause in there. This is basically, the terms that we're changing is, we originally gave them a 3-year contract. Last year really doesn't count because
Yeah.
of COVID. So it's starting a new 3-year, that's one of the terms that was changed. Another term is that, the big term, is that the contractor has the right to set the fees and collect them and keep them. And we put in there that the fees shall not exceed a certain amount. And
Okay.
that's the amount they've been for a few years. And that does not mean the contractor can't lower those fees to try to bring people in. I mean, they obviously make their profit off the bar and off the food. And if they want to draw more golfers in, they certainly can lower the fees under this contract. But they can't exceed certain, and that's basically they have a duty and an obligation to make sure the golf course is cared for. I'm not talking about what the county does as far as the greens and the fairways, but they have a duty to make sure that nobody destroys the golf course. And so basically, we put this by the BLM, and they located it, and informally. And that's about it. So if the terms are agreeable with you, then everything else is fine.
I only have one question, and that's the 30-day out. Is, let's say we're in the middle of our golf season and the contractor decides to give a 30-day out, how would that interrupt our golf season for, our golfers in town? I was thinking about that, like if they wanted to pull out, then what would we do as a county? How could we jump right back in and make sure that wasn't interrupted for our golfers?
Well, we'd probably, what I would suggest at that point in time, put a employee out there.
Just put an employee.
To collect the fees. And for a while, we wouldn't have a food or
Right, but they could still be able to golf.
But they'd still be
Okay.
able to golf. That'd be easy.
All right, I'm good.
I did have one question, if I may have missed it, but the agreement is the same as the old one as far as March through October.
Yes.
But in the old one, we did say that we would prorate March, especially in something like this. And in the new one, I didn't notice there was any prorating at all
No,
for the first month.
No.
So, and they were okay with that?
Well, it's March already, so,
I know,
Would
and.
you guys like us to prorate March?
Pardon?
Well,
Kelly?
you can certainly do it.
I think that's only fair. I mean, March is sometimes a really, really bad time. Of course, we never know with the weather what's happening. But,
If the contractor wants a proration for March, you can certainly do it right now.
so,
And particularly if the contract's not signed until the middle of March, you can make that point in the motion.
it just seems fair because March may or may not be good in the other 2 years too, so.
Well, I had questions about that I didn't think it was a point that I really cared about. I kind of think as far as greens fees or annual, the most income that I'm gonna get right now is gonna be on your annual passes. All the regulars will be in there to pay, and I don't think it's gonna matter whether I open March 1st or March 15th. Now, the $500 for the building, possibly that could be prorated because we haven't been able to open. I didn't want to open until we actually have a contract in place, obviously. So my sales and things like that, because part of what we decided on the fees were new. We were keeping kind of a $500 a month plus what I thought was fair for greens, to add on the greens fees.
So just for clarity, we don't have the building in here per se anymore as the lease. We've incorporated that into the monthly installment, so it would have to come off of the monthly
So we
installment.
could,
So, I mean, our lease last year was $500, so, yes, I would definitely be willing to be prorated for this month, obviously. That'd be great. But I wouldn't expect it necessarily for, the entire amount for the month.
It's a fairly larger, oh, sorry. It's a slightly larger prorating because it's off of the whole amount as opposed to the 5 or the 800 that was paid previously. So just take that into consideration when.
Have you paid March's yet?
I have not.
Okay, this is easy. The new contract would take precedent over the old, she's done a month to month.
okay.
It would take precedent, and if you prorate the new contract, the $500 doesn't even count.
Okay.
And another point on there was,
Yeah, and the treasurer's office was okay with that. They said that they can do that through their office. It's not a problem, doesn't cause any issue for anybody. They're receiving all the money anyway, so they can do that within their office, not any issue.
Okay.
I was just planning on taking that off the first month's leave, if that's okay. I don't know if that needs to be written in.
Can it be just stated in the motion, or how does that?
No, that's
No,
just through the
not
treasurer's
right.
office. It goes
Okay,
right back
okay.
through. If you were gonna prorate, you'd have to state that in the motion, but as far as the fees and the adjustment of her rent, that's through the treasurer's office, no issue.
We have a motion?
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the lease agreement between Lander County and Overtime Sports Bar and Grill as written
Is that all right?
With the prorate.
and prorated as discussed.
So Brian made the motion, or second, all in favor?
Just a clarification, I wasn't sure exactly how you stated that, Brian. Does that mean that the lease will actually be prorated every March if it's needed to?
No, it's just
Just
as we
this-
discussed,
just
this
this month.
March.
Thank you.
Those are the code.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
For discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the proclamation of 2021-02 honoring the month of April as National County Government Month.
I actually asked for the county government month to be on the agenda. I did want to discuss some things that we might do, but they did put the resolution on, and I think that's fine. That's what's on the agenda for right now. So the biggest part of why our national NACO looks at this is to take a month aside and say to all of the citizens, the counties do a lot, and we'd like to just highlight some of the things that we do for you. Before we have put it in the paper, we've kind of bulleted it and stuff like that. But as I said, since the resolution is on here, if everybody's okay with that, I'll make a motion and read it in. Okay? I make a motion that we approve the Lander County Proclamation 2021-02 in support of National County Government Month, April 2021. It's serving the underserved to designate the month of April 2021 as National County Government Month, whereas the nation's 3,069 counties serving more than 300 million Americans provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant, and whereas counties move America forward by providing health care, administrating justice, keeping communities safe, creating economic opportunities, and much more, and whereas Lander County and all counties take pride in their responsibility to protect and enhance the health, welfare, and safety of its residents in efficient and cost-effective ways, and whereas through the National Association of Counties President, Judge Gary Moore, Serving the Underserved initiative, NACO is focusing on the critical role counties play in breaking multi-generational cycles of poverty, and whereas in order to remain healthy, vibrant, and safe, America's counties provide public health, justice, safety, infrastructure, transportation, technology, environmental stewardship, and economic services that play a key role in everything from residents' daily commutes to emergency response. And whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to actively promote their own programs and services to the public they serve. And now therefore be it resolved that I, Lander County Commissioners, wouldn't it be that we? Lander County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim April 2021 as National County Government Month and encourage all county officials, employees, schools, and residents to participate in county government celebration activities. Passed, approved, and adopted this 11th day of March, 2021 by the Commissioners of Lander County, and authorize our chair to sign.
Second?
I'll second it.
Patsy made the motion, JR second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right. Moving forward, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove county membership to the Constitutional Sheriff's Peace Officers Association.
Alrighty, so this was, Brian had asked for this to be on the agenda at the last meeting. We did reach out to the Sheriff's Association and spoke with the Sheriff Richard Mack. He did send over, we would be the first county, actually, they've never opened this up to counties prior to this. It's the first time that they've actually opened it up to anybody outside of it, and they were really excited to do that. We had Sheriff Unger there when we were on the call, as well as, who else was? And Ted.
Yeah, Ted.
Sorry, had a few meetings, a few people in this week. So, it was a good discussion. I think it would be something beneficial for the county. If anybody else has anything to say, I think it'd be Brian and, Ted and Unger.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing, and I like the fact that it's not just Second Amendment based, it's constitutional based. I think that's, I mean, I remember clearly when I took this oath of office, it was all about the Constitution, and I'm all about supporting anybody who supports that, so.
Me too, Brian.
I do have a few concerns on this one. The association itself is actually started in 2011, and the movement rose from a far-right racist and anti-Semitic group of the 70s and 80s. Its ideological basis of the sheriff's movement is based on various incorrect, I think, and some legal claims that I have some problems with. One of the gentlemen, the Richard Mack that you mentioned, that actually was one of the two that started it, is also on the board of directors of one of our militia groups, and we have over 300 militia groups in our country, and the largest one he is on the board of directors with. They're also the same ones that were at the Bundy situation that we had in the South, and I can't see as a county us coming forward to make that kind of a stand when it's really political. I also wonder about, because our emphasis is that the federal government and state governments are not going to have the control over our sheriff, it will be our sheriff itself. And for us to take on that as a county, I'm saying that's against my oath of office. I'm not happy with that. The other thing is I think it's real problematic that it's a lifetime commitment, and I don't know how this board can sign up for a political movement that's a lifetime commitment. I think that's way out of our caliber to even think about doing. I know we can go into some other things on it, and I'm not saying I don't approve of what they're doing. There's several things, especially supporting the Constitution and the Second Amendment. We're going absolutely yes, yes, yes. But I do know on the other gentleman, that Joseph Arperio, who was, of course, the other one that started it, and he was, of course, indicted for some charges for aggressive racial profiling and stuff in Arizona, and the county said that cost them over $70 million on that particular lawsuit. He didn't have to do any time because our president pardoned him prior to that. But this is so political. I can't see our county stepping in and doing this for our citizens. Like I said, I think it's against our oath, and my recommendation would be, of course, if anyone individually wants to join, they can, absolutely. But if you truly think it's something the county should do, I think it's contentious enough that we would probably have to put it on a ballot and let our citizens decide.
So maybe Sheriff Unger can correct me if I'm wrong, but is the Sheriff's Department not already a member of this?
Not the department itself, myself.
Oh, yourself, okay.
So does the Sheriffs and Chiefs Association back this group?
There, I'm not gonna speak for the whole sheriffs and chiefs. I know that there are several sheriffs in the state of Nevada that also are presently members of the Constitutional Sheriffs Association. And like myself, and I don't wanna misstate something, I have been a member in the past. I can't tell you if I am to this point, but I have been one of the members since I took office. And I've used that Sheriff Mack as a resource
what's going on within other counties and other states and what laws that, or what they're doing to protect our oath. And that's what I use him for, as a resource. And he's been a good resource. Now, I agree with Patsy, he was down there at the Bundys, I'm aware of that. They didn't cause any big problems or whatever down there, but he was there. He's a constitutional sheriff, he took the federal government to task, he won it. He's very well educated, he is a teacher, a leader, but as a county, I gotta agree with exactly what Bert said. We was the very first county to ever approach him, and, you know, we're here to protect the Constitution of the United States.
Amen.
Well,
And
and
any resource that
I
we
don't
could use.
disagree with that, because I wanna make sure that the accusations that she's having down there go through legal to make sure that, I'm for this as well, but I wanna make sure that those accusations are accurate or are debunked before we jump onto something
Well,
like that.
first off, Patsy's,
I think, excuse me if I may, I think, and I'm speaking for myself, I think what we're looking at doing is making a statement that Landon County is a constitutional county. We're not just a Second Amendment county, but we're a constitutional county, and we belong to the Constitutional Sheriff's Association. And we're here to uphold our oath to our citizens. I think it's a statement, and he is a resource.
so I just, thank you, Ron, and I just want to address some of Patsy's concerns is, first off, she made the statement that she feels it is against her oath. I don't believe that. She's also made the overtones that militia groups are somehow illegal. If they're operating within the law, militia groups are about constitutional rights, Second Amendment rights especially. And if you haven't noticed, our Constitution is under siege in this country. And it's like, it's about time elected officials like us stand up and start doing the right thing. That's been the problem. We've allowed it to happen. So,
So define to me for militia. What does the definition of militia mean?
Well, I don't believe the association facts is part of the militia. I believe certain people within the organization belong to the militia,
My-
militia group.
My comment was that Richard Mack sits on the board of directors of the largest militia group. That was my comment.
And that is different, according to Sheriff Mack, that is different from this organization.
Okay.
And if we want to become part of the council culture and cancel something because a person has his personal beliefs in another area,
Well, no,
then that's
I
fine, let's
respect
do
that.
that.
But
Yeah.
what about the lifetime membership? Is that something that is that something that should be, each board should be able to vote on? Or do we have the right to say lifetime members for the remaining, I'm saying that in a very simplistic way. Of any membership like that, do we have the authority to vote?
We have the authority to become a member of an organization.
Okay.
And whether that membership lasts a year, 5 years, or a lifetime, it's up to this board.
right.
The membership is for a lifetime. That's what they're giving us in the
That's
information.
what they're giving us, but doesn't mean that you have to stay there for a lifetime.
No, but once you're on, I'm sure you're gonna be on. And I agree with everybody here under making a statement for the constitutional rights. I truly do. But I'm saying this is a political movement, a political organization. And how can we, as commissioners, start joining folks that are political? And it isn't that they don't protect the Constitution, because they do. And there's many things in there I totally agree with. Like I said, we can do it individually if we'd like to. But I think their main focus is the theory that we've got folks in high places that are trying to take away all of our rights and erode them, and we know that. And because of that, they think that we shouldn't have to follow the federal government or the state government rules, and that the sheriff has the final authority. And I'm saying I believe that is against the oath that I took. I can't join an organization that has that philosophy.
So there's something I want to state here. So
But
you
it
you
is.
have federal government right now trying to seize our Second Amendment rights. It is an inalienable right. They do not have that right to do that. So I don't care because it's the federal government or the state government. We swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And that's what I stand by.
And you know what?
Okay, then-
That's exactly what the Bundys did. They stood up. They stood up. I support the Bundys. I support the mayor. Refuge people, 100%. They stood up with their life. We lost Lavoy Finicum because of the federal government, not because of the local government, the federal government. And we need to stand, and we need to stand tall. That's my position. I know how willing I am to fight. How are you all willing to fight? You gonna fight as hard as me?
Individual is fine.
They're offering a life membership
Okay,
for $2,500 in the system.
okay.
We can, as a board, vote for instance, a 4-year membership.
Okay,
And then it would take the next board
yeah, to go
to
ahead.
continue.
Let me ask you this, Ted. If we did do the lifetime membership, isn't it the board's discretion, like the future board, to say, hey, we belong to this? Let's write a letter saying we no longer want to belong to, and thereby proclamation resign from that board?
That's what you
Okay,
can do it
exactly.
either way.
Yeah, they could do it, yeah, exactly.
Either way.
So I have a question, and I'm saying this in something like swag, and I'm not saying this like I know the answer, so I wanna make, now, NACO, they're a political,
Yes.
okay, so so they're both political groups.
Absolutely. NATO
Okay,
is-
and I'm not saying that sarcastic, I wanna make sure that I'm truly under the understanding,
And to
when we
suggest
say a
that
political
NATO is
group.
not political is
And I'm not saying that against
It's wrong.
NACO, I'm just asking, so I'm understanding in the same
we belong
realm.
to political board.
That's
So
right.
we belong to other things that are, political organizations.
We are in
Sheriff's
politics.
Chiefs Association is a
That's a
political
good
group.
point. That's a good point, Kathy.
So I'm just trying to wrap my head around all this to make sure I understand.
We've also hired our own private consultants and stuff to go politically to try to get our land bill, for instance, passed. That's politics. To suggest we have to stay away from politics, when we're a political body, I don't understand.
Well,
Okay.
tell me what's not political right now.
Well, I'm just making sure I'm wrapping my head around so I can make an educated decision that what that
There are
is.
state and federal lobbies. It doesn't get more political than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right, I'm just making, like I said, making sure I'm understanding what I'm for.
And Ron, again, I belong to a lot of organizations, just like most of us do here. That doesn't mean I agree with everything they do either. Just because we're a part of the Constitutional Sheriff's Association, that doesn't mean that Lander County is gonna agree with everything they do, and we can opt out on some of this stuff. It's no different. And I wanted to tell you folks, and Kathy knows, one of the first questions that Sheriff Mack asked Bert when he was talking to him, are you a Second Amendment county, constitutional county? And we said, no, we're a constitutional county. We didn't just go in for the second. And he said, that's exactly what he wanted to hear. You know, so this isn't just for the Second Amendment, like a lot of people are thinking. This is the Constitution we are supporting here.
I have one other
That's what
statement.
I do think.
I have one other statement.
All right.
It's like, I think about all the veterans that we have, both past, present, future, and it's like what they've fought for, we've had dear friends and family die for, and then to make a statement like, well, we have to be careful because, this is political. No, it's not. It's about protecting our freedoms, our liberties, our lives.
And like you said, Brian, inalienable rights. Inalienable rights come
That's
from the
right.
creator, not the government.
That's right, it's an inalienable right. It's not a right to be taken away.
With that, I'll make a motion that we approve county membership to the Constitutional Sheriff Peace Officers Association, CSPOA, for $2,500.
I'll second the motion.
And could you please modify that slightly and say that we have the understanding that a future board may withdraw from this?
And the modification would be the future boards do have the right to disassociate themselves from the association.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Can we take a break? Can we take let's take a 10-minute break, please?
This conference will now be recorded. Unmuted.
All right, for update and discussion from Greg Poole on the cost-benefit analysis for the Battle Mountain Levee project.
All right, I believe we have Greg Poole on the phone here.
Yep.
Greg, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I will let him take it from here.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, morning, Greg.
Oh, good morning. I can't see the screen, and it didn't let me share from my end. I'm gonna mute the sound.
So Greg, if you will just let us, sorry, Greg, if you will just let us know what page you are on. We do have it up on a computer here.
I'm not sure why I can't see the screen.
Madam Chair,
Can I move
Yes.
it?
a suggestion would be,
I assume the first slide
Hold
is
on for
pulled
us a
up.
second, Greg, please. One moment. Go ahead.
if you could open up
Okay, thank you.
17 simultaneously,
Okay,
so that gives the board more discretion
all right,
on
so,
this discussion.
all right, very good. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up 17 for discussion and possible action to discuss all possible options to take action by choosing a direction in which to proceed with the Battle Mountain Levee project. So 16 and 17 are open together. So go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. I cannot see the screen there, so I assume that you're looking at the first slide. Let me describe what you're seeing on the first slide. On this first slide, we have what's shown for the FEMA floodplain for Battle Mountain, and the white line, that big fat white line that goes right up through the R on Lander County there, is the existing levee. And so the project was to bring the existing levee into compliance with current FEMA requirements. If I might, the existing levee was constructed in the 60s by the Corps of Engineers, and it was constructed to have 2 feet of freeboard with 7,000 CFS. FEMA standards are to put 3 foot of freeboard on that. And there are probably other reasons why it doesn't meet current FEMA requirements. As a result, when they mapped it, when they did the map update, they ignored that existing levee. And so then that shows Battle Mountain, a lot of Battle Mountain to be flooded. Next slide, please. Okay, now you should be seeing a slide that shows what we've been asked to do, and that includes a review of documents, a review of design plans, and a cost-benefit analysis, an estimate of probable construction costs, and levy benefit analysis. Okay, let's see. For some reason I'm getting feedback when I turn the volume on. Are there any questions, or do you see where we're at? I'm sorry this is awkward. I appreciate your patience, Commissioner. This is not as straightforward as I was hoping it was going to be. And I do appreciate the opportunity to present what you've asked us to do. Okay, so then on slide 2, that shows what our engineering review scope is, basically, the 3 main components. If we go to slide 3, on slide 3, this is a summary of the documents that have been reviewed. Some engineering work through August 2020 was under the November 10, 2011 contract, so about 9 years old. The Summit Engineers' response to the apparent overrun of the 2011 contract is that increases were all approved verbally by Mr. Keith Westengard, who was the former county manager. None of the required permit applications have been completed and submitted. The prior dispute with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers over the request to reimburse about $1 million may need to be resolved prior to the permitting going forward. A key feasibility concern is obtaining the agreement with the Union Pacific Railroad to construct the flood walls within the Union Pacific Railroad property and provide for the flood barrier, flood gate, to be placed across the tracks during a flood event. The next slide shows what was proposed, or what was actually, I believe, sent to the Union Pacific Railroad as a possibility for that flood gate. The main concern is that the agreements that have been in place before were with Southern Pacific, and Union Pacific is very different to work with. Okay, are there any questions at this point? Thank you. Let's go to slide 5. The design plans, review of the design plans. Summit Engineering reports that the project design is 90% complete, and they provided plans in August 2020 that were marked for review only. Several construction details have not been completed, and special provisions and technical specifications have not been provided at this point. The project plans are not ready for bidding. The required permit applications have not been completed and submitted. Let's go to the next slide, unless there's a question on that. Okay, benefit cost analysis summary. The estimate of probable construction costs was prepared based on the Summit Engineering August 2020 plan set, and the project benefit was estimated using the FEMA HAZAS toolkit. FEMA requires the use of the FEMA HAZAS toolkit if you're going to try to get federal funding. So it's important to follow that approach, and that's what we used. Let's go to the next slide. This is a summary of the cost estimate, of the estimate of probable construction cost for the Battle Mountain levee modifications. And you may not be able to see that. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. I'm not sure what you can see there, but the next slide summarizes it. The probable construction cost estimate is $17.4 million. The expected construction cost range is between $15.7 million and $20.9 million. Let's go to the next slide. HAZAS predicted losses without project. So we assume the project's not in place and the floodplain is as it's shown on the FEMA floodplain map. And the boundaries shown in red are what's produced by the HAZAS document for the areas that they would expect to experience flood damage. Let's go to the next slide, unless there's a question. So predicted losses with the 100-year flood event. HAZAS estimates 161 buildings will be at least moderately damaged and 1,819 people will be displaced in the Battle Mountain floodplain area. It also predicts a total building-related loss of $50.4 million, business interruption losses of $77.3 million, and vehicle damage losses of $2.8 million, for a total hazardous predicted loss of 130.5. Oh, that doesn't match what you're looking at. The numbers I was just quoting are higher than what you're seeing on your screen. They're based on what I think more realistic. But this is what matches, what I just said matches how we finished the benefit cost analysis. Bottom line is these seem high for a generally 2 feet deep flood event in this area. And in discussions with local engineers, that it seems that this would be higher than would be expected for this kind of a damage, a flood. The hazardous predicted benefit cost ratio, assuming the higher numbers that I just quoted to you rather than the ones you saw on the screen, would be, yes, go ahead. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Nobody had any questions, Greg?
Okay, sorry, it was probably just feedback from myself. Thank you. The predicted benefit cost ratio, assuming the higher numbers that I quoted just a few minutes ago rather than the ones that you saw, are is less than 1. And since how it's less than 1, that means the predicted costs are larger than the predicted benefits. And there's also concern that the hazardous prediction of flood losses are high, which may mean the benefit cost ratio is even smaller and the proposed project less cost effective. To obtain federal funding, the benefit cost ratio must be above 1. And preferably, you'd like it much higher than 1. The last slide, conclusion, the predicted costs are greater than the predicted benefit, therefore the project is not cost effective. We find that the existing levee does provide some flood protection. If the county decides not to proceed with the project, we recommend the following. Maybe before I go, we recommend that you continue to maintain the existing levee system, continue to be active in the FEMA program, allowing residences to purchase flood insurance policies. I would like to just discuss just a second on the existing levee system. The existing levee was designed for 7,000 CFS with 2 feet of freeboard and constructed that way in the 60s. The 7,000 CFS, the current FEMA flood prediction is much higher than that, like 8,600 CFS. But some recent hydrology shows that it's probably more likely around 6,080 CFS, so less than the 7,000. That means the existing levee system is adequate with those, not by FEMA standards, but in reality, it does provide flood protection. Okay, I'm sure there are a lot of questions, and I hope that, and I really appreciate those.
Do we have anybody in the public who has any comments?
I want to hear what Shep has to say, because he lives out there and he knows a lot about this.
Hi, I'm Lenny Shepherd.
Oh, okay. You have to be green there. There you go. You're on.
Know what I do. Catch you later. My name's Lenny Shepherd, and I was a child there during the flood. And this levee that's up there, I worked on that when I worked for the county, and we used to maintain it. And they'd come in and tell us that we had to raise it up, we had to grade it, keep the gophers out of it, the badgers out of it, the weeds off of it. And it's kind of a pain, but it's there, and it hasn't ever been tested
which I'd hate to see that, but a new dike, or levee, or whatever you're gonna call it, is not gonna cure anything. The problem is, I did a little research, and you can Google it yourself, and you can look, we did it by hand, but you could look at the bottom of the ditch on Martin Ranch Road, coming out of the bridge. And I don't have any figures with me, but I might be off 1 or 2 feet, but it's about 26 or 27 feet higher there than it is at the Muleshoe Road. But that water doesn't run down there fast. It has a ditch there that's fairly wide, and it controls the water. But you get about, what's the name of the new road? The pipeline road? That has the,
Bypass or?
yeah, whatever
Bypass,
it is.
yeah.
You get to there, there's about 3 ditches there where that water is split up above that. And then they go down, and then they probably a half a mile apart by the time they get to the freeway down there. And the bank caves in, the water goes around it, and it's just a continuous thing. The ground's a little higher there, the ditch is there, but they're all over. So, and then if you look at the freeway down there, when the railroad put their new bridge in, there's a channel right there, and all it grows is cattails. And it runs clear to the I-80. They put a big bridge in. No water ever runs in there, because it's never been diverted over there. Because it's on private ground, I suppose. But that's the main channel, and that's what needs to be done clear to Martin Ranch. At least to that new road.
Now, is that something that we can do ourselves, or do we have to have the Corps do that?
I'll do it ourselves.
Well, I don't know, that's,
Yeah,
I'm
so-
pretty sure that we could do it ourselves, but Corps has to oversee it.
So,
I moved river channels and stuff when I was a kid, and we had to get the Corps out there, and they just inspected what we were doing as we were doing it, and we just moved the channel.
so I'm sure Greg could probably speak to this better than, or Aaron as well. My understanding is that we can do it. We have to get some clearance from property owners, and then we also have to put in to make sure that we aren't, lowering it too much or changing the flow.
Right.
And we're kind of in the process of getting at least the clearance to clean our ditches. Now to move it over to actually get it to that other one that Mr. Shepherd's talking about.
Well, I think the ditch is there, but what they've done over the years, is that water just keeps going around. I mean, I'm sure you can get to any one of those ditches and follow the ditch, don't make a new ditch, just follow the existing ditch, and the water will go right on past instead of sitting there and backing up. 24 feet of water sitting in the air above you, it's gonna sub, and it's gonna perk, and it's gonna do everything else in this gravel ground. And that's why water sits out in a lot of them places. There's nowhere for it to go. But if you give it you can look at Reese River from here to Austin and look at every bridge there, and there's a big channel there. You go down here, and there's not a big channel anywhere. And there's, I think, four bridges on I-80. And there's 3 on the old Furnace Road, old US 40, and the railroad has 3. But it goes through one. So why would you put a levee up if you're not utilizing all your bridges? When they back up, then the levee will take over, but there is a levee. That's just my opinion.
well, no, and the issue with this town, correct me if I'm wrong, how they started this second levy to begin with, because they thought that was gonna help the homeowners with insurance, but they've already said that there's no guarantee, even with their levy, that that's gonna happen. So we're spending $17 to $20 million, and there's no guarantee from the federal government that FEMA will, to grant the no insurance anyway, correct?
Well, and I'm hoping that Greg can speak to that
Okay.
as well.
That flood, plain 100-year flood, this is not gonna go away until 2062. That's 100 years. And
That's when the flood was in '62?
right. But the floodplain, none of this is gonna go away. They can't say, well, we got a levee here to protect you. It doesn't work that way.
You're not gonna change
so the water can run instead of letting it run this way.
And I think, Bert, on page 4, the third paragraph, well, right under conclusion, the second paragraph, is that what they're talking about? What Shep's talking about here, about lowering the ground?
No,
Maybe Greg can answer.
Because you're talking about modifying that area.
I
Because
got,
JR said something about, he had an idea out there, working with the river, right? And I think on page 4, that's what they're talking about.
I just have a kind of an old saying, but you know what the first thing a farmer does before he puts water on his field? He cleans the ditch.
Is that what we're talking about, Bert?
But what held the water in last time was the railroad, right, correct?
There's a guy that knows it. It took Bob knows, Bob was here, he rescued people and everything else, and it took 4 or 5 days for this water to come into town. It wasn't a big cloudburst that just come and hit here. It just started melting, and nowhere for the water to go. Let Bob tell me.
How did all the debris get from underneath the freeway to the railroad?
There was no freeway.
There was no freeway.
Yeah.
US 40.
It was sagebrush and the culverts weren't that big, but yeah, none of this stuff was here. And the road to North Battle Mountain, the paved road wasn't there either. You know, and it's, the whole town has changed since then. That water come to the railroad, it come to the, old US 40, blocked the culverts. Nobody had any equipment to, I mean, they were doing all they could, but they didn't want to lose the highway, so the water backs up.
What's the probability that we'll have another flood like this in the next 50 years? What's that?
If you look at it right now, okay, from where the Shell station is,
Yeah,
okay, US 40 come right through town,
right.
okay, and it headed right out alongside the telephone power line, or phone line, railroad line. Okay, that was the US 40. And then you had a road that took off, went to Austin. Okay, that
Oh, yeah,
road left the Shell station and it came up a good level
Yeah.
right in front of where Sue Edgar used to live, which back then was the auto court. Now, if you go over there now and stand on top of that road that still partly exists, it's not much higher than the levee that's there right now.
Okay.
And all of that Raymond's, food town's on has been built up, which is almost the same level as the, levee.
Okay.
So the ground was a lot lower.
It was a lot lower, because in, summer of '61,
That's all.
anyway, that road that went in front of the auto court went to Austin along that side towards Tamara's Ranch.
Okay.
That was the old AA.
Yeah.
All right, well, anyway, at that point in, the summer of '61, they started paving, or they started cutting the county did, started cutting all the roads so they could pour curb and gutters and do asphalt roads, because Battle Mountain had no asphalt roads.
It was all gravel.
They're all gravel. Okay, well, they cut down quite a bit, all the way across town. Well, come November of, '61, it started snowing. December, it snowed, January it snowed, till about the middle of January, it quit, and then it started raining. So about the middle of February, okay, is when everything started melting,
Oh, okay.
and everything started backing up. And the railroad tracks that was holding
there
Yeah.
during the winter. Still doing that. So, is there enough drainage there on the railroad tracks? I don't think so.
It doesn't seem
I
to
think
me that
that's-
it is. You have
that
three
was-
or
yeah.
four feeders into one, and it's not bigger than the other four, so it's gonna block up.
And it'll happen again if we ever get a winter like that one.
That was before climate change.
Can Greg answer some of the questions that were proposed?
Yeah, so Greg, did you want, we answer some of the questions?
Sure. That was really a good discussion. I appreciate the information. Mostly what we've been addressing is related to. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can.
Okay. Mostly what we've been working with, the project was to change the FEMA floodplain. To change the FEMA floodplain, we would need to go through the FEMA process. But the practical side of it, which is what's being discussed, would be to help drain the ground better, to provide for better conveyance, that kind of thing, which would not require FEMA approval, but would require, if you're going to work in a channel, then you should get Army Corps of Engineers permit. But I would think that would be very doable. That kind of action would be helpful, would probably not change the floodplain, would not reduce the need for flood insurance. Let's see, was there another question or did I answer that one okay?
Yeah, that was good. I don't think there were any other questions. Are there?
I just think the county putting $15 million out on something that you just will throw it up in the air. If you go, I don't know what it costs to do this. And I don't wanna, whoever's ground that is, if you dug him a ditch or a trench down through there, you're gonna improve his ground instead of, right now he's got a half a mile of floodplain and he'll have it contained in one ditch. And I mean, that's a waste of money, in my opinion, for any taxpayer around.
So I just want to say, just to be clear, what Lenny's saying, I agree with 100%, but that's not really what the discussion is per se, because it doesn't remove anybody from the floodplain. It may help the water travel, but the point of doing this levy was to remove people from the floodplain.
Which was never guaranteed.
Which was never a guarantee, but I just want to make sure that we're on that, because I agree with what Lenny's saying. We got to get the ditches clean. Me and Lenny went out there together, and that's where we got the footage of what we can see where the sand has came in. If anybody who sees the river, it always changes because of that. So we looked at that together. But this was mainly for the taxpayers and to
So,
get out of the
so basically,
flood
we're
insurance.
moving forward, and basically, wouldn't be moving forward with the new levy, or we just use the one we have. Am I correct in that?
Well, so I think that's the option that's on the table for the
Oh,
commission.
okay.
If you guys would like to move forward and try to take a crack at removing people from flood insurance, it's gonna cost you 17 to 20 million.
Well, this
If-
is my opinion, is that we spend 17 to 20 million dollars, and there is no certificate of guarantee that it removes anybody from flood insurance. So I would say that's crazy, to spend that kind of money when you have no sort of guarantee.
Gotta have a guarantee it's gonna take it out.
Yeah, so,
I'm really concerned about the safety, no question about that. But $20 million and possibly a benefit, I don't know. And I remember the last term, somebody said they could make an improvement for $750,000 on this side of the freeway. So,
Yeah, I say we just kind of move along, and maybe look at improving
have.
what we have, clearing the ditches, continue to work with FEMA, in the process, that's what I think.
yeah, and I think
What would it
that's,
take to get FEMA, this dike, existing dike we got now, what would it take to get it up to FEMA standard?
Well, that's,
That's something
That's,
we need to
that's,
look
that
into.
is, yes, that's one of the things that I think Greg can answer to, is if there are some other options or what he sees as other options, working with FEMA and potentially moving people out of the floodplain that may be much cheaper than 17 to 20 million.
Can you
That would
pick-
probably give us as much chance of getting out of the flood insurance as building a big dike.
Can we come back with a priorities plan? You know, where we need to pick up or where we need to brush up on what we have now?
well, I think we've kind of,
Aaron Martinez, for the record, AIM Engineering. Just to be clear, my firm has nothing to do with this levy design project, but we've been asked to assist to ensure that the sub-consultant here is seeing the scope of work there as the county has contracted them to do. So as part of that, we've been brought really intimately into this project. And so I think, to answer your question, part of the scope of work that this sub-consultant to do is to provide us with an alternatives analysis. And I think that it would be a good day for the commission to say, okay, I think our alternative is kind of pointing towards keeping the existing levy, and maybe that sub-consultant can kind of target his final report to show us what we can do in terms of an alternative basis on that levy. And I think that'd be a great approach for his report and to wrap up that component of his contract. I think in terms of going forward on the levy, I think the county will have to take that information and then take a step back and really start looking at how we're gonna approach this from a much larger perspective. And I think you bring up some really great points today. I think this side of the highway is a big problem also, and this afternoon I'll be discussing that with Mr. Ramos related to another project. So I think we need to do something for both sides, most certainly, but I think all of you are on the right page, and I agree with everything that you said.
Yeah, so we can cover that in 17.
Commissioner, also in the letter to Mr. Ramos, there are three alternative analyses. There's three ways to go. On page 2, the top of page 2, if you would look at that, this is kind of like what Aaron was just saying, but it's laid out in three alternatives. Do you see that?
And I think Greg would be willing to expand on that existing levy and kind of the steps and hurdles it would take to kind of rehabilitate and potentially even get back on board with the Corps of Engineers on a certain item, because Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there some funding that if the county was to start to embark on certain maintenance issues, they might be able to get back on that federal funding program to assist in some of those maintenance costs?
Can we do that when we're in the middle of a lawsuit over it?
Is that still there?
Well, the lawsuit's about past remuneration,
Right,
not present or.
right, but I
future.
mean, do they really wanna work with us again?
Well, they got their money, they took their money from it. We're paid in full as far as I'm.
Yeah, but they didn't do anything, so I'm saying that, to bring them in and we go through that again, I mean, it.
Well, I would not suggest having anything to do with them again, these federal agencies. That's just my suggestion. Consider going over the record, what we've been doing for the last 20 or so years. They had not done anything for Lander County except charge us $1 million. And when my office, before we got outside counsel, who specializes in this, my office addressed that and asked them for a list of what they did. And 3 agencies got together and didn't come up with anything.
But they still charge us.
Yeah. We even had a Lander County commissioner fly to Washington and hand over a check.
Yeah, well.
It was crazy. I don't think we had any purposeful plan in place when we were doing that. And that's my understanding of what we're doing today. Everyone gets on the same page, make a plan, and pursue it.
And because of that, when we voted to terminate our contract with the Corps of Engineers, and Summit walked up and said, I can do this for XYZ amount, and we voted, go for it, and now we've been brought on and led on and led on, so that's, and we're at this point now, we're going, he's 90% done with the design. The design should have been done, you know, 3 years ago. and longer, so so it is our decision. Do we cut our losses and go somewhere else? Try something else?
And
Or-
that's laid out in these alternatives.
Right, or do we continue on
So
with,
that would be number 3.
That would be
No
number
new-
3.
Yeah, we pick number 3, make the motion right on that. And we-
Correct.
Yeah, so we just need a motion, we'll wait till Brian gets back.
but we do throw away the point of FEMA approving to get us out of the flood zone. I mean, because we have to work with them to get out, because they're the ones that designate the flood zone.
But they're not guaranteeing that if we do everything they say, they have no guarantee that.
But we knew that, and the reason we know that is because you've got private people, private banks that are loaning money.
Right.
But once you say, I'm out of the flood zone and this is why, that gives them the opportunity to do that. But if we're not out of the flood zone, they're not gonna do it.
Well, have
So-
you ever known an
Well,
insurance
right,
company?
and even though they said there's no guarantee, of
To
course there's no
reduce.
guarantee, because we're taking them out of the flood zone and now we're putting everything over to a loaning enterprise that will make the decision.
So so the possibilities are to, like number 3 says.
Well, we thought it was a great possibility, not just a minute, and that's why it was, that's why we're where we are today, right?
So, go ahead.
Who says who gets to say where the flood zone is? Corps of Engineers.
FEMA,
Well, when I was a kid and it was flooding and there was no drainage, nothing, and the town was flooded, the hospital, the old high school was there, and that was the rescue station. And my mother and father lived across the street there. It never got flooded. And, I mean, lots of people did, don't get me wrong. It didn't get flooded. Well, here FEMA comes along, and whoever designates it, now they say that's in a flood zone. Now, how can they do that? I was here during the flood.
How deep was it?
The water?
Yeah, down on Front Street.
Oh, you could have a boat on it.
Yes,
Yeah.
they had boats on
Boats
it.
on it.
I was here.
But this is a little higher right here.
Because this is based on a flood of 2 feet.
No, it
2
wasn't
feet
2
of
feet.
water.
How did they know that? It gradually comes up
Oh,
like this.
I understand, I'm just telling you what
I'll touch on that for you a little bit. So basically, how they know that is through survey data, and then they take that survey data and they say, okay, here's my existing ground, add 2-3 feet of water on it, what does that look like? The problem is though, is that the data that they're using is not adequate. So the reason we know that is we just resurveyed all this area. The county spent a lot of time and money having us investigate certain areas for this other project. And what it's come down to is our vertical difference is about 2 to 3 feet from what FEMA says. Currently, right now, that Reese River is a 350-foot wide, 3-foot deep channel. I don't know anybody that can show me a 350-foot wide, 3-foot deep.
He's saying it's
channel for
bogus,
the
right?
Reese River.
Turbines on that thing.
But that's what they're showing the Reese River is right now, so they're actually giving those landowners a break, because it's actually a lot deeper than in all reality. And then the other problem that's an issue is if you looked at Summit's report from the original, they never did a flow reduction on that report, and the issue, what they're saying is that the Humboldt River and the Reese River are nearly the same flow capacities.
Oh, wow.
What?
Serious. I'm dead serious. Right now, there's over 7,000 to 9,000 CFS coming down the Reese River is what FEMA believes.
Wow.
And so that's what's happening here. And after kind of being brought into all this, my discussion with Bert is there's kind of have to be a much bigger approach to fixing this. One of them is a flow reduction that we're looking at, but there's just no way that 7,000 CFS rolls down the Reese River.
No.
There's just no way. And so those are kind of the hurdles from an engineering end that we're running across is one, some tech over in Washington DC from Florida has no survey data in this area. He's using fake values for total flow, and here we are kind of holding the bucket of all that, which is a kind of misrepresented map, frankly.
Wow.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, well, yeah.
It really is, and that many, if that thing's not correct, maybe the flood insurance wouldn't be so high and so many people have to
And
get it.
what we're running against, right, what's really scary right now is you can imagine, if FEMA says we're 2 feet deeper than we really are, then you can imagine if I gave them real survey data, the entire town of Battle Mountain might be in the entire floodplain. That's literally what we're looking at right now.
Well, I know that the water that is at my residence, was 4 feet high. Because when I tore the front of the house off, I had water damage exactly at 4 feet.
National Guard did a lot of that damage.
How's that?
The water was a foot deep and they drive them
deuce and a half's down there rescuing people about 30 miles an hour, and the waves would go, there's a tsunami.
You had fun.
True story. Well,
So,
I think we should go with 2, just a modified project, you know,
Yeah.
kinda clean our river channels out and.
so is that correct, are we are keeping our existing and modifying what,
Yeah.
fixing what we need to fix?
Yeah, make
Is
a
that correct?
priority.
that sounds like a winner to me.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
thank you, all of you guys, so, do we have a motion? Oh. For which selection, do we need a motion for which one we want, 1, 2, or 3, or what are we doing?
Yeah, well, if that's the way you want to proceed, the person making the motion,
But,
but I would like to make it clear, we're making a motion for number 17. on
Right.
the agenda
Yeah.
since-
yeah,
And, yeah,
okay.
you
All right,
can,
with
you can make
that,
a motion any way you want.
What do we do with 16?
It's just update, yeah.
Discussion.
Okay.
So item 17, I'll make a motion that we proceed with the Battle Mountain Levee project as step 2, or number 2 of the alternative analysis, which is a modified project, lowering the bed of the river from the confluence with the influence with the Humboldt River up through Front Street. And,
Second.
yeah.
You wanna put money on that? How much? Okay.
All right, so, Brian made the motion, Art second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, very good, thank you everyone for that. All right, so, moving on. For discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove, drafting a resolution that opposes the innovation zones in Lander County.
Is there anyone here that doesn't understand what the innovation zones are? Okay, I want to explain this because this is really significant. Innovation zones are available to tech companies that are willing to purchase 50,000 acres and invest $1.25 billion into that 50,000 acres. And what they have is their own country, their own tax structure, their own charter, their own law enforcement, right in the middle of a county in Nevada. And that came out of the governor's office.
So big business becomes their own county.
They're doing it in Story County.
Well, they
Well, they-
rejected the,
Story County passed a resolution, I think, against it.
but it's still in front of the legislature, which comes out in May. And so it won't be heard till May, so that's why we're going with this. My question is,
The tech company actually owns the property already in Story County.
It's blockchain.
So they're waiting for the law to do this, but they already own the property, they're right there.
Ted, is this
Yeah,
constitutional?
the governor came out heavy on this, and the lobbyists are right up on top. I mean, they're just overwhelming everything. I don't know
Constitutional?
what kind of a chance we've got to fight it.
Well, myself, including probably every other attorney that I know that works in government, would probably say challenge
Say what?
Challenge it.
challenge it.
Okay.
the constitutionality of it.
Yeah, so should it be, can we actually pass an ordinance instead of a resolution before they pass their legislation?
Our ordinance has to be pertinent to Lander County. So, and our ordinance does not take precedent over state law.
Which I understand that, but
So it would be,
It's a mute point.
it'd be absurd to do it, a waste of time, when you can do a resolution and challenge it if they try to impose it on Lander
Okay,
County.
all right.
I mean, you could, the answer is yes, but the caveat is, why would we?
Okay.
Does NACO have a position on this, Patty? Patsy?
Yeah, they've been right there fighting it, yes.
And the bigger part of it is, that we're trying to write the mining out of it, because if that happens around, when I talked to the Nevada Mining Association, they said right now, there's no existing mine that could afford it, but that doesn't mean that if another mine started up in a county, that they couldn't start their own community, and how that would work was they would start their own community, then they would send their net proceeds, like it's suggesting here, they would start their own community here. Once they were all ready to go and had their own law enforcement and basically their own county commission, they would send the net proceeds to the state, and the state would send it right back to them, and we would totally be cut out of those net proceeds. And so, Clark County is against it as well, because I think they're afraid of the gaming, that gaming issue of it, because it would do the same thing with the gaming and the tax.
You just have to call themselves a tech company,
Yes,
and, which is easy to do on paper.
yes. Because they're trying to do the Bitcoin, and they're trying to turn all of the the stuff over to Bitcoin.
It's blockchain.
Yeah,
Blockchain.
yeah. So,
Well,
Bitcoin is part of blockchain.
yes,
Right.
yes,
But it's blockchain.
okay.
I'll make a motion that we request the DA's office to draft a resolution that opposes the innovation zones in Lander County and the entire state. No, we can't do that, can
We'll do Lander County.
we? Yes, okay, in Lander County.
I'll second.
We can urge other entities, but
Can't tell anybody else what to do. So Art made the motion, Brian second, all in favor?
No.
Aye.
Aye. All right, very good. So, for possible action to approve, disapprove the Nevada Division of Water Resources FY 2021 through 2022 groundwater basin budgets and adjust for the following basins. A, Antelope Valley groundwater basin in the amount of $20,106.34. Big Smoky Valley Northern Part groundwater basin in the amount of $1,017.95. Boulder Flat groundwater basin in the amount of $1,286.99. Buffalo Valley groundwater basin in the amount of $3,279.11. Caraco Lake Valley groundwater basin in the amount of $2,593.42. Clover's area groundwater basin in the amount of $20,805.06. Crescent Valley groundwater basin in the amount of $49,608.34. H, Cohab Valley groundwater basin in the amount of $182.97. Lower Reese River groundwater basin in the amount of $14,399.60. Middle Reese River groundwater basin in the amount of $26,105.19. Upper Reese Valley groundwater basin in the amount of $7,866.53. Whirlwind Valley groundwater basin in the amount of $26,928.49. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the Nevada Division of Water Resources FY 2021-2022 groundwater basin budgets with the adjustments noted.
So it'd be in the amount of $174,180.01.
Yeah, 174,180.01.
I'll second the motion.
Art made the motion, Brian second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving forward. Discussion and possible action to change the current part-time janitorial position to a temporary full-time janitorial position through June 2021, utilizing the existing budgeted funds.
Ron, for the record, and I believe you folks have read the agenda item, but what I'm requesting here is to take my part-time janitorial to full-time position. We have budgeted for that in this coming budget. So right now, we do have enough money in our budget to cover the cost of this. The reasoning for that is that the building's getting older. It takes a lot of cleanup to do. We've kind of expanded her duties, and with the virus that we've had, we have added the cleaning, the sanitizing, and all that to her, and we just don't have enough time to get everything done.
Put in for a new sheriff's office on budget, Ron.
Basically, we like the one we got.
Now I'll make a motion that we change the part-time janitorial position to a temporary, full-time janitorial position through June 2021 for the sheriff's office.
I'll second.
Art made the motion, Brian second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. For number 22, Buildings Department for possible action to approve, disapprove one of the following proposals for Lander County Recreation Center. Fire sprinkler system.
21, okay.
I thought they were tabling that.
No, 22 they're tabling.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I
You're
got-
right.
All right. possible action to approve the parcel map application for Battle Mountain Land Company LLC for the benefit of Golden Gate Petroleum of Nevada LLC to split one parcel into two parcels. A 10.210 acres and parcel B 181.940 acres, located on Hilltop Road, Battle Mountain, APN 011-160-01, zoned A2/C2. This item was approved by the Planning Commission on February 17th, 2021, without conditions. All right.
Hi, Dale.
Hello.
You know what my question is gonna be?
Is there any septic issues?
Any septic issues in that area?
There's not. I actually went a little beyond, what's recommended, and there are no septics
Okay.
within that zone.
Okay. No other issues, huh?
No,
How big is this?
10 acres.
10 acre, no, how big is your facility gonna be? How many pumps?
Facility is, it's a truck stop. It's not as big as the Loves and Pilots and Flying J's. By the way, my name is Tom Cordy. I represent Golden Gate Petroleum.
Morning, Tom.
Where
Sorry
Tom?
about that. Anyway, it's not as big as the larger truck stops. It's, the store itself is 4,500 square feet, and then there's a 2,000 square foot gaming area. That's going to be part of it. And then on another pad, we do have, we're proposing to do a sit-down restaurant of about 4,500 square foot as well. Now, whether that comes to fruition depends on whether or not we can attract somebody.
Right.
Like a Denny's, or that'd be the ideal type. But we don't have anybody at this point. So, yeah, we've got seven fueling islands for the automobiles. We've got 5 for trucks. Plenty of parking, plenty of turnaround space. It's just and access works, very good there.
I think this will help us inadvertently with the problem that we have right here with Maverick, so it might help us.
It'd be nice too, I think, for all the population base we have on Hilltop, you have not too far to get gas, not too far to
Yeah,
sit down and
yeah.
eat, not too far to go to the store.
Yeah.
So are we looking at a real rest area for the truckers, like with showers and restrooms and rest lounge
There'll be
areas?
restrooms, but again, it's a smaller scale than you would see at Pilot or at Flying J. I don't think we have showers in this one.
Okay, not showers and lounges. Okay,
Yeah, I don't think we have that. in this
Okay.
one. I can tell you that we're very happy to be doing business in a constitutional county.
Well, thank you, that's, and please don't get a Denny's down there, they don't support the Second Amendment.
I'll scratch that one out.
Hire local.
Yeah. It's always a positive thing for me to come to this county, because I've been hunting chukar here for 50 years.
Nice.
Don't tell anybody.
I appreciate you guys raising those chukar.
Yeah, we want to.
Alrighty.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the parcel map application for the Battle Mountain Land Company LLC for the benefit of Golden Gate Petroleum of Nevada LLC to split one parcel into two, parcel A, 10.210 acres, and parcel B, 181.940 acres, located on Hilltop Battle Mountain, APN 011-160-01, zoned A2/C2. The terms were, the item was approved by the Planning Commission back then, so let's do this
What's that?
with no conditions,
Alright,
because there's no septic issues.
alright.
I'll second the motion.
So,
Okay, we got,
I just wanna know how far down Hilltop Road that is.
Do we have a
Right
map?
there.
Can we show a map to Lenny there?
come right over the hill, Lenny. You got a map? Show Lenny the map.
On which side of Hilltop Road is it gonna be on?
It's right there in your map. 21?
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Right where that road comes
Okay, here and here is Hilltop Road right there.
so I hit the bottom of the overpass?
Yeah.
So
As where's the exit off the freeway? And it's right there.
Oh, okay, so it'll be on the right-hand side.
Yeah, on the right-hand side, and they got this left-hand side here too, take it.
Okay. So it'll be on the,
I think,
yeah, and the Reese River's right there.
I think you guys would be excited about it. Shit, you may have to come on every time. Big guy, fucking ice is here.
All right, so,
One more, excuse me,
yeah, yeah,
just one more comment that, we were here before the planning commission, a couple months ago, whatever it was, and they threw us out of town, because we wanted to build that over here, at this quadrant, right down the street.
Oh,
Best thing that ever happened to us, much better location at the other exit, so,
A lot of concern about that
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of concern.
intersection right there.
The new location's much better.
This should help a lot. We won't have to put rumble strips up.
all right, so Art made the motion, Brian second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, very good, thank you.
thank you, Tom.
Table 23.
So we're tabling 23?
I think just
Sorry,
22.
just 22.
Yeah.
22.
We're not tabling 23, are we?
No.
Okay.
One of these sprinkler systems is for the courthouse and one for the sheriff's office, or the rec center.
So if you guys would look at backup, please, for item number 22, because that is the backup for item number 23. They got mixed in your packets.
So, we're interested in the rec center right now. That's what that's before you.
The item is correct, the backup is not.
Okay.
So under,
We're on 23.
so we're on 23.
23 with 22 backup.
Okay,
We're on
so I can read in number 23.
Please?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So for possible action to approve, disapprove one of the following proposals for the Lander County Recreation Center Fire Sprinkler System. One, overhead fire protection in the amount not to exceed $1,030 annually, recommended by the building department and supported by the county manager. Delta in the amount not to exceed $3,750 annually. Okay.
Well, I think we discussed this in a prior meeting, correct?
Yes, the only thing that was changed is I believe that it was not a automatic renewing contract, so it would be coming back before you guys. We had to come back and change that, so to my knowledge, that has been fixed and went through our district attorney's office.
All right, so. Motion.
So all the changes have been made then?
The corrections were made, yeah. The corrections were made. Yes.
All right, well, I'll make a motion then, that we approve, the following proposal from overhead fire protection in the amount not to exceed $1,030 annually, for the, sprinkler system in the rec center.
Second.
Do we need an authorization to sign on that?
And authorize the chair to sign?
All right, so Brian made the motion, Art second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, correspondence for future agenda items. So I have a question. Cause I left the little paper at home, I had mentioned to you about the museum packs, did I mention that to you? Do you remember?
Museum.
Yeah, instead of the museum, there's an NRS and I forgot to bring it, and I don't know if I'm right with what I'm reading, but what you can do is you can levy a small tax that goes to your museums, that helps support your museum, so they don't have to come every year and ask for money. It's a small, yeah, it's just.
A tax?
More taxation?
But it's,
More taxation.
well, no, I didn't, but it's, the question was, and I respect that,
Yeah.
but the question is it gonna be the same amount as they ask for every year? Or is it, that was the only thing, instead of them having to come, that,
No, you would, if you tax the citizens again, by that type of tax, you'd have a percentage,
okay, all right.
and,
I just had come across it and was wondering is all, so they didn't have to come every year to ask for money, but it wasn't.
Well, they often have special projects that they're working on, so so it fluctuates too.
we're not supposed to be paying their overhead.
No, I know,
So,
okay, I
so
see,
their requests should change every year.
okay,
And technically, they could be going
And that was me, I just happened to come across it and
But with
thought,
the
oh,
tax-
that would be,
And I'll give you an example of the TV tax. That was set at a certain percentage based on services we need to provide, and that's never been changed.
oh, okay, I
Let
understand.
me ask you about the TV tax. I mean, with how things have changed and,
Yeah.
I mean,
Why do we need a TV
well,
board?
I'm just putting that out there. Maybe is that something we should talk about or look at? I mean, it's,
Well, you could look at, the validity of continuing with a TV district. You could, as a future agenda item, you
So,
can certainly do that.
right, so in the TV district, basically,
They're their own legal entity.
right, which controls basically the television we receive in Lander County, that's it, right?
They tax everybody $65 a year, whether they need it or not.
Whether or not
And
you want.
that is the consequences of developing a tax like that.
I see.
Whether it's needed or not,
You're gonna pay it.
you're gonna pay it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, TV is not like it used to be, you know,
That's correct.
it's, you have dish and digital and,
And there are a handful, and I say handful of people who have antennas that get their TV from that, but it's a handful.
But,
right,
I mean,
all.
And then there's
No, I
Austin.
respect that, no, I
we do the same
understand that.
thing in Austin, but we pay them as much as they need for required that year, which is a great system. We don't have a district in Austin.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
So
got a
where does
couple.
all of that money go that, if everybody's paying $65 a year,
They
that's a
keep it.
lot of money.
They keep
It
it.
probably goes to the Austin when you finish
They
up,
have
because
lots- they have a lot of
we don't
money.
even have TV and we're still trying to get.
And there's nothing, as far as the emergency broadcast system, we're not required to have, like, access to, like, television and whatnot, and,
Under the FCC regulations, we're required to have it available. And that's how we do it in Austin. We bring in a contractor and build up a system and have it available. They're not taxed.
Which we still don't have because we're still trying to update.
Yes.
So there's a lot of money. So everybody in the county may be paying that 65, but we're more than spending it, let me tell you. And it's probably going to the south right now.
well, maybe we
Well,
could just,
not from the TV
No.
tax.
No,
None
not-
of it goes there.
Yeah, not from the district.
Nope.
maybe
They
we could
keep
just
it. They-
have an
they
agenda
keep
item
it.
discussing kind of like all the pros, cons, just look at it so we better understand it.
Yeah, I would like an agenda item on the TV board.
District, the
board
TV
attorney
district.
stuff.
District,
Now-
TV district.
Now,
District, okay, the TV district, the, board attorney stuff,
It's
the
not
board.
a board.
Huh?
It's not
Not
a
a
board,
board.
it's a
They
district.
have the right to involvement.
Can we,
It's not a county board.
so there's not really anything that we can do about it then if it's a district, can we?
Well,
That's-
Austin was a district too, and we certainly did something about that.
so we would
The
need
water
their
and sewer,
board,
too.
So what?
we would need their board to,
It would be,
cooperate with us similar to how the
No,
Austin, I believe, correct?
We don't need the board to cooperate.
well, it would be the same way we did the water and sewer district too.
Yes, they didn't cooperate with us at first on
Okay.
that water and sewer district too. But we still, the board, this board, finds that it's in the best interest of Lander County to do away with that district. Then you have public meetings and stuff like
But
that.
can we ask their district to come in front of us and report what they've done with the
You
tax?
could
ask all
them,
you
can we
want.
ask them? But they don't have,
They
they're
don't
not
have to
required.
show.
Don't have to.
They're their own legal entity.
Okay, very good.
Now, okay, an agenda item on the TV board, the board attorney thing, whatever that is, where the board members hire their own attorney or whatever, that.
I don't understand what you're saying, Commissioner.
Where
That
a
NACO
board
issue.
member can disregard the DA and get their own attorney. The board
Are you
can
talking
get
about the county council bill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yes.
and NACO, I want something on there about NACO, I wanna discuss what NACO is doing for Lander County.
Was that county council bill, was that put forth in favorites? That's. they're
Not yet.
considering
They
that?
had a
Oh,
hearing on it, but nothing's happened since the
Gotcha.
hearing.
But NACO supported it.
That's what I
NACO
meant.
did
NACO
support
put
it
forth.
100%.
And I believe they said that the county supported it,
Yes.
and that's what caused the contention with Humboldt County and Lander County anyway.
Now, would you guys like these, for the TV board, would you like that to be an action item, or would you guys just like this
well,
to
yeah,
be?
You can take any action.
Okay, well, no, I'm just curious if you
No, I
guys
don't
like it,
know.
or
I'm
just
curious.
discussion
I
only,
don't
I'm
know
just,
either.
I think for discussion and possible action, yeah.
okay.
If, legally, if the board chose to dissolve the district, you would have to do that by an action item. Just like we did on the district in Austin for water and sewer
You
too.
have to have a hearing.
You have a
Have to have a
hearing,
hearing?
and then the action would be that we make a finding that it's the best interest of Latin County and the citizens therein to dissolve the district, and then we start having, meetings with hearings, public meetings.
And then, Bert, where have we, and we may have already discussed it, if we do, and I don't remember, I apologize, but about moving forward with our county library as far as becoming county-owned.
Self-sufficient.
Yes, I am working on that,
Okay.
and I plan on, their contract is continuing, so it's not a matter of
Okay.
urgency for the contract.
Okay.
But I'm trying to compile numbers to see what that will cost, and it's gonna come back in
Okay.
front of us
Okay,
during
that's
budget.
fine. So we're currently in contract with
The
them.
initial
Yeah.
setup will be expensive.
Right.
Any other?
Oh, one thing you need to check is if you need a certificated librarian to have a library. Just see if there's a regulation on that.
Yes, you need
You might need to.
A certified
Yes,
you
librarian.
do,
Yeah.
Do you?
You might.
Okay. you do.
Maybe we can get Debbie Evans back.
So, any other public comment? All right, a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Art made the motion, Brian second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good.